Hello, hello. Selena Baca here, founder, host, lead educator with the American Crochet Association, where I work to assure crochet is passed through the generations in better hands than we found it. I'm excited to be here today to host the Battenberg Bag Crochet Along for not only the I Like Crocheters community, but for the American Crochet Association and our friends at We Crochet. So today I'm here to share some tips, some tricks, and some support to get you through the next part of this crochet along. You can find all the links for more details in this video description, including the amazing giveaway from my friends at We Crochet. If you guys have not entered that giveaway yet, definitely click on the links in the video description to get all the details and just for your easy entry to get that started today. All right, if you guys are watching live, come on over, say hey, say hello. Tell me where you're viewing from. If you guys have any questions about the Battenberg Bag Crochet Along, go ahead and post them, whether you're here live on the replay. As soon as I see them, I will get right back to you, I promise. Okay, so if you guys are signed up to get email updates like me, then you would have gotten an email first thing this morning telling you that part 3 for this crochet along has been posted. It's up, it's live. So if you guys have not already signed up for email updates, it's quick and easy to do so. Just click on the link in the video description to get all that jazz, all right? And if you guys are not signed up for email updates, just keep checking back on this crochet along page, link in the video description for more details, because all of the different parts of this pattern of this crochet along will be released on a schedule, and you guys can get all of those details when you click on the link in the video description. Okay, so this is part 3 of this crochet along, and so we've already talked about what yarn I used, what yarn you can use, how you can substitute. We talked about colors. We talked about making granny squares, okay? So I would actually love to hear for everyone following along. Have you ever made a granny square before? I feel like I've asked that in past parts of this, but maybe you've never made a granny square before and this was your first opportunity to try. I'd love to hear what you thought, how the resources were for you, because not only do we have a video to walk you through it, I've got written instructions and a chart for you guys to follow. So love to hear what you thought. So I know a lot of us had so much fun choosing what colors every single one of our granny square was going to be, because you could follow the color application that I did exactly if you wanted to. You could use the exact same colors, or you could follow the same color application that I did, to where you see just these granny squares here in the center. So this one right here and this one right here are incorporating the colors, you know, from the top part of the bag and the middle part of the bag. And then the bottom is just all the same color. So I wanted it to look like 2 completely different bags. So the reason I'm bringing that up now is because now we're going to be joining all these granny squares together. And so hopefully before you get to joining, you were thinking a lot about what your color sequence and application was going to be. So I've already seen a few of your granny squares. I love that you guys are posting your pictures with the hashtag that we're using. So what I do every day is I just click on that hashtag and it just shows me everyone who's using that hashtag and all the pictures that go along with it. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. I've seen a lot of your granny squares so far, and I can't wait to see how they're going to come together. So keep us all posted, all right? This is the exciting part where everything's coming together. So the reason I'm saying that is because, again, you've chosen your colors, you've chosen your yarn, you've made the granny squares, hopefully, and now we're going to be joining them together to make this bag. Maybe all of your granny squares are roughly the same color. Maybe you didn't do something as extravagant as the colors that I've put together, but really, there's no wrong answer. It's whatever you think looks good, whatever you think is new, hip, and happening, that's what you should do. I just can't wait to see. Okay. So to join these granny squares together, you can follow the pattern exactly as it's written. And what you can do is after all the granny squares are created, you can do a slip stitch join. And again, the instructions tell you exactly what to do. But for my slip stitch join, what I did was I only used the loops that were closest together. So as two granny squares are together, I used the loop that, I used the two loops that were closest together, only two loops. So I used what looks like the back loop only, and that way the front loops are going to be exposed here, okay? And that's what gives us that really nice flat pattern right here. But on the inside, we can see the slip stitch seam, okay? Now, some people, actually I had a lot of pattern testers, and some of my pattern testers were like, you know what, I really like that raised look. So I did not follow what you said in the pattern. I did my own thing, and I made sure that the raised look was on the right side of the granny squares. So just know that following the pattern, when you're following the pattern, there is a very specific look that I'm telling you to do. So if you are following what I'm telling you, it's going to have this nice flat edge on the right side. If you're not sure what side is the right side on your granny square, just know that as you're crocheting, as you're creating your work, the side of the stitch, the side of the fabric that is facing you while you work, that is the right side or the front side of the stitch. Because this granny squares, because we're not turning as we create each round, every single round has one front side and one back side. So as you're creating each one of your granny squares, there is a very clear front side. So as you're joining your granny squares, make sure the front side of all of your granny squares are all facing one direction, and the back side of your granny squares are all facing, again, the same direction. So the back side is on the inside for me, and the front side is on the outside for me. So that's going to matter to make sure that your bag has a very clear front side, which is facing outside, back side, which is going to be on the inside. That's going to matter whenever you're doing your slip stitch seam. Because again, if you want your bag to look exactly like mine, my slip stitch seam is on the back side. If you like that look, or if you just accidentally go, oops, I did it on the wrong side, it's going to look like this. Not bad, not wrong. It's just not going to be the look that I've intended here. But I'd love to see what you guys come up with. Now, in the instructions that I posted, again, I do say to join with the slip stitch seam because that's exactly what this sample does. This sample does use that slip stitch seam on the inside. But I made a video with two completely different joining techniques, that slip stitch seam, and I also show you how to do a join as you go. Now, if you've already made your granny squares, it's a little late to do join as you go. But if you were still on the fence about creating this bag and you're like, I don't want to join all these together when I'm done, I wish there was another way, I hear you. I feel all those feels. So if you have not completed this bag yet, or if you're like me and you're like, I need to make another one, that's definitely a different joining technique that you can try. So if you want to be a little adventurous, a little intermediate, a little bold, then definitely watch that video that we've posted for that second joining technique. And maybe it's something that you like a little better, or maybe it's just different. It's something that you can try. Okay, you've made the granny squares. You want to join the granny squares. They're all right side facing outside, wrong side facing inside. You are ready to join, but you've never joined granny squares together in a shape like this. Maybe it's, maybe you've done it flat, like in a blanket or something else, but you've never done it with a bag. So how can you make sure that you do this right? Okay, so a tip that I'm going to share with you is put all of your granny squares in the order that you would like to join them, specifically pertaining to the color order that you want them to be in. So I have lots of different kinds of stitch markers, but my favorite for joining are going to be these little closed safety pin looking ones that are plastic. Now, you can get these online. They're really economical. You can get a ton of them for really just a little bit of money. So I'm strongly suggesting this particular kind is going to be a really good resource for you. But if you just have things like bobby pins or hair clips or some other kind of stitch marker thing that you can use to join, definitely try that. If you have no stitch markers whatsoever, you can just use pieces of thread or string or something like that, and you can, with a bow, not with a knot that's hard to come out, but with a bow or something like that, you can do this same technique. So what I did for this was I put my granny squares in a joining order, and then just in the corners for each one, so just in these chain 3 corners for each, that's where I joined together the granny squares with a stitch marker. And I did that so that when I was joining them with my crochet technique, I knew exactly where my lines needed to go. I knew exactly, okay, I'm going to start slip stitching here across these motifs, but then how far can I take that? And so really that helped me find the longest lines to start and stop. So for example, and there's no wrong answer for this, but for example, you can start here and you can go from here all the way down and around to the opposite side, and that can be one seam for you using that slip stitch seam. And then you can go over one and you can do the same thing. Here's another one of my slip stitch seams. Woo! And then I can go down and around and over. So really that's going to minimize how many seams that you have, but it's going to show you exactly what sides joined together. And it's really going to help you pay attention to lining up the individual stitches on each one of your granny squares, because you've already joined together, or you've already kind of fastened them together in their joining order using something like this. So again, you can use these. I think these work best because they close. So as you're slip stitching this together, these aren't going to come off until they're ready to come off. But really any kind of closing stitch mechanism, I think is going to work best. But even if you only have the round ones like this, I think that they'll work okay, but you just have to be really careful, because if they don't close, they're likely to maybe come off, and so you just have to really be careful. So hopefully that's a good tip for you. Again, all granny squares, make sure that the front is on one side and the back is on the opposite side. That way the fabric looks the same on either side. You're not going to have a rogue wrong side facing granny square after you join all this together. So pay careful attention to that. Make sure that they're all in the order that you want in terms of color, especially if you're going to go super bold with color. And then also if you join them together by some means, whether it be a stitch marker or a piece of yarn, that's really going to help give you some confidence about where your joining lines are, and to make sure that they're all joined in the best way that you want them to be. Okay? All right, guys, so those are my tips for you today. I hope they help. If you have any questions about this crochet along as we're going through the parts, go on ahead and feel free to just post your questions right here, and I will get to them as soon as I see them. All right, I see a few of you guys are here joining me today, but I only see a shout out from my friend Jerry Sue Tinker. Hello, Jerry Sue, so good to see you, especially since you're still in the middle of a move, I think. I hope you've got a safe and fun and smooth move. And if you're following along with this crochet along, I can't wait to see. All right. Okay, guys, so I don't see any questions. I don't see any other comments, so that probably means you guys all have your hook and your yarn in your hand and you're just getting to work. You were just ready to dig into this crochet along. That is cool. I can't fault you for that, okay? But just so you know, I can't wait to see your pictures, what yarn you're using. I want to see your granny squares. I want to see your projects. So keep using that hashtag for this crochet along. You guys can find it in the video description. And as always, I am here and I am so looking forward to seeing any questions that you guys have. All right, so before I sign off, I see Renee is here. Hello, Renee. So good to see you. Thank you for checking in. And Lucinda is here. Hello, Lucinda. So good to see you. I'm so glad you checked in real quick. All right, everybody, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you are enjoying this Battenberg bag crochet along. Granny squares are one of my favorite things to make. So I'm just so thankful to be putting on this crochet along for all of you guys here in this community. All right, that's all I have for you today. Peace, love, crochet. Keep me posted. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.